Vineyard Club. My name is Erin Davis. This is my second year for the Wine Walkabout, which we're not walking about right now, but I'm happy to be here for my second year. I'm also terrified because I hate being on camera, and I think this is my 16th take on this try, so we're going to try to make it through this one. We're going to start with some champagne because I love to start with bubbles for any occasion or event. The problem with bubbles is finding something that's a good value, especially from Champagne. So I picked Champagne Jean Jocelyn. This is their Cuvée des Jean. This is probably one of the best value champagnes I have come across in selling wine, and specifically champagne. It's made from 100% Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is one of the grape varietals that is traditionally used in the champagne process for the grapes, but on this particular champagne, it's 100%. So if you need something fun to start your evening out with, this is what we drink. The second wine, this is Domaine d'Henri. Some of you may actually recognize Domaine d'Henri from last year. It was a different Chablis, different vineyard that I poured, but I wanted to bring the label back and do a different Chablis from them. This is their Léalie du Vignoble. It's one of their kind of second tier Chablis. It's not super expensive, it's not on the cheaper side, it's right in the middle. Lovely drinking. If any of you are oyster fans, this is the wine to be drinking with oysters or any kind of shellfish. Fun little fact about Domaine d'Henri, it's a family affair. Michel Laroche is the owner and consulting winemaker. He was probably, I call him the godfather of Chablis. Huge Chablis house, and he sold it, retired, and is now making wine with his granddaughters. So this is their little family project, and lucky for us, we get to carry it, and hopefully you guys buy some and enjoy it. Okay, out of the whites, now we're moving on to our first red. This is Harper Voigt, another label you all might recognize from last year and even in-house. I believe the Elevage and the BZ are the two wines that you guys have here and have maybe had tableside. I don't know if Noah has probably given that suggestion a couple times for you guys. So I decided to bring in one of his other special single vineyard Pinots. This is called Terra Rosa. Terra Rosa is the name of the vineyard in Eola Amity AVA. So single vineyard, special small production Pinot Noir like BZ. So if you liked that style of Pinot, and you get a chance, this is right up that alley. All right, and now we're moving across the pond. We've jumped from Oregon back to France. This is Domaine Fromdresch. Robert Parker called Fromdresch one of the premier star producers in the Ventoux region of southern Rhone. Ventoux is in the very, very southeast corner of the Rhone Valley in France, and they're right at the bottom of the Vaucluse Mountains. So when we're talking about a really strong sense of place, this wine is definitely that. It is a GSM, so that term may be familiar. GSM is Grenache Syrah Mourvedre. That is a blend. If that is a style that you enjoy, this is probably one of the most classic versions of that you could find. Also good value. Now we're going to do a little compare and contrast. If we were here, I would like to have two glasses next to each other. So this is very classic French style GSM. This is a Washington GSM. So this is from Devison Vineyards. They are the newest family-owned vineyard to our lineup for our Washington portfolio. Husband and wife team. They are producing, I feel like we're around maybe a little under 5,000 cases a year, so still a very small winery, but very high quality. They call this their GPR, which stands for Glass Pour Rhone. So another fun GSM, bright fruit, the lovely fruit that Washington is famous for, just in a pretty French style. Sticking with Washington here, and part of the reason I wanted to focus on Washington on the lighter half was obviously the fire situation over there right now is very scary. A lot of winemakers are, worried about how these vintages are going to turn out, so want to be supportive of them right now, obviously. This is a winemaker who is kind of near and dear to my heart. He's a good friend of mine when I lived in Walla Walla. His name is Andrew Latta. His wine may not be noticeable to you from the label or the name, but to give you an idea of who he is and where his experience comes from, he was basically the winemaker for Charles Smith Wines for the better part of a decade. Charles Smith is probably a name that you do recognize, and Charles Smith was obviously famous for putting Washington wine on the map, particularly Syrah. So what I brought is one of Andrew's Syrah. This is his Dana Dibble Syrah. It's from a vineyard called Freewater Rocks Vineyard, which is in Walla Walla Valley. It's been a newly designated section of the Walla Walla Valley, and that term you may have heard several times on the rocks has been kind of on everybody's radar with Washington Syrah. Dana Dibble is actually a good friend of Andrew's, who has been helping him consult in winemaking for a while, so he thought it was high time there was a wine named after him. I'm doing good, right? So Last Washington Winery. This is Guardian Cellars. This may be another winery that you are familiar with. They've been distributed in the Boise area for, I think probably about 10 years now. We've had them in our book for 4 here in Idaho, so definitely proud of them. Funny backstory, Jerry and Jennifer, husband and wife team, he is a police officer, she is a reporter, and they met at a homicide. Happy Halloween. Oh, that's my phone, I'm so sorry. Back to the show. This is one of the series, wines in the series that Jerry does from the Guardian label called The Wanted. So because of his work as a police officer, each one of his wines is named after something that he did in the police precinct. So The Wanted, obviously, we know what that means. Most of his wines are Bordeaux style focused, so this one is an equal blend of Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and then a little bit of, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and a little bit of Merlot blended in. So very classic Bordeaux style red blend, you know, big, lush fruit. Jerry uses new French oak on some of this, so as these wines sit, they age really well. The tannins are really lovely. This is gonna be your steak wine. And I hope that was enough information for everyone. Have a lovely evening.